Leave.
Recording in progress. All right. Hey guys. Everybody ready to do this thing?
Sure thing.
Yo.
That's right. Sniff my itchy coke nose, apparently.
They have
What?
a Build-A-Bear right now.
That's cool.
Ugh, I kind of want it.
This is going to be the whole podcast, you just like browsing on your phone. Like, oh my God, look at this thing.
What sort of Build-A-Bear is it?
It's the guy from Nightmare.
Nightmare.
One of the toys
Little
from
vampire doll.
comes
Yeah.
alive. Yeah. That is actually pretty cool.
I know. I'm gonna send this to Shannon right now.
She'll have it before we're off the call.
Yes. She'll be like, I'm going down to Build-A-Bear.
Shannon-shaped hole in the wall.
It's for the kids, really.
Yeah, it's totally for the kids. Yeah.
I don't even know where a Build-A-Bear is anymore. There's not one in downtown Disney. That's gone.
Well,
Oh, really?
there was one at the Orange Outlets, if it's still there.
Hmm.
I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't necessarily keep track of all the Build-A-Bears nearby.
Yeah, I thought there was one in like the Westminster Mall or something like that, maybe. But who
No.
knows? Yeah.
Oh, well. All right. Well, shall we?
We shall.
Shall we indeed?
Shall we? We shall. Shall we not? Shall. Will. Shall. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Getting Off Topic podcast.
How much have you had to drink tonight, Tony?
Oh,
Not
I've
enough.
had 2 sips of my sarsaparilla here. It's actually ridiculously freaking delicious right now. Hey guys, it's Getting Off Topic podcast. It's Sunday night. This is Tony.
This Todd.
This is Andrew.
And Meg.
Got a full house tonight. Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah, so it's been another 2 weeks. There's a whole lot of stuff to cover. There's
How
Meg's
dare you
got-
put cake in front of us, Meg?
That's good
Diabetes.
cake too. I had one. Last night? That was tasty cake.
Yeah, tasty cake.
Cake.
Oh, yeah, cake. Yeah, we're over for it was game night / Friendsgiving.
Mm-hmm. Though not so much of giving as just hanging out and chatting, friends chatting, if you will.
Yeah, eating the absurd amounts of food and playing absurd amounts of Cards Against Humanity. Yeah. So what's everyone up to? What's Todd? What's going on? What's going on in your world?
It has been a short 2 weeks of absolutely nothing because I've been on vacation.
That is
And-
right.
This podcast officially marks the end of it.
Was it the last time we podcasted? Was that the last time you communicated with humans?
Yes, pretty much. Other than some rage typing and some competitive video games, yes.
Oh wow.
And us actually hanging out in real life.
Oh, we did.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
We did actually have a dinner. Yeah.
The first time I left my apartment for something other than a drive-through window.
But it was still food related.
True.
No,
Sure.
I mean, it's good stuff.
And I've
Yeah.
been trying to find that beer ever since. Nobody around here carries it.
Oh, the beer we had there?
Yeah, the Mother Earth Brewery creamsicle.
Right. Yeah, Mother Earth. There was one that was creamsicle, and the other one was just like cream something. But it was that Mother Earth brand. It sounded all hippy dippy, but it was ridiculously good.
Yeah, it was insanely delicious.
Yeah.
So Shannon's response to that Build-A-Bear, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she wrote, "Oh my God, I want it so badly."
She wants
with a
it
lot
so
of-
badly.
Yeah.
So bad. Meg and I completed our a journey for fun stuff. We managed to get ourselves a Nintendo Switch, a
Yay!
OLED new Nintendo Switch, which I didn't think was going to happen for like maybe a solid month at least or something, because all the scalpers like have bots set up to just immediately buy out anything available online.
It's not just that. They're saying there's an estimated 1 million units sitting in cargo ships off the coast of LA right now.
Part of the whole supply chain interrupts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Broken down on the coast there.
Yeah. But yeah, what's up?
Never mind. I don't want to get into that topic because that's a whole that's a whole other
depressing real world stuff.
yeah. Continue.
But yeah, I got lucky. Just one morning, I had kind of like half given up, but I was keeping an eye on like stock alerts online. And again, it was like pointless. Like every time I would get an alert pop up, by the time I clicked and went over to Target.com or GameStop.com, whatever, it was out of stock again. So, but then Todd insisted, as well as like a bunch of online advice articles. People were saying like, we're just getting lucky, like reports of people getting lucky, just checking their local stores. So I did. I called up the local GameStop like 2 Saturdays ago or something, just when they opened up. I'm like, hey, do you guys happen to have any new ones? And the guy was real nice. He was like, we do not right now, but we may in a while. And I'm like, okay, so should I call back in a couple hours, or like, should I go to the store? And he basically just said, be here at 11:30. And I was like, okay. And I was working, so I was like, Meg, you're going to GameStop at 11:30. Yeah, we loaded up on that. We got of course I had to get Metroid Dread. Meg got Pokemon Shield and Luigi's Mansion 3. Yeah, and held off on Animal Crossing. But like within minutes of both Meg and I announcing to other mutual friends with Nintendo Switch, it's like, hey, we finally got a Switch, got Animal Crossing. Like, oh my God, what's your friend code? We have to buy now. So we ended up grabbing Animal Crossing 2 just a few days ago. Yeah, that I saw that. Of course, a whole part of it is subscribing to the Switch Online service, which, you know, they announced the expanded version of that with the 64 games and Sega Genesis games, which, I mean, I don't really need to play the old Genesis games, and we have a 64 that we don't even play. But yeah, I guess that was for the family plan, it ends up being like $80 a year.
Yeah, it's an insane increase in price.
Yeah, 50 for individual. And whereas we're paying 35 for the family membership, like the regular one, which, I mean, it comes out to what, like $2 something a month, like almost $3 a month. Like, it's not terrible.
It's not horrible. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's all I need. Like, if I ever get the urge for the retro games, I would want to have access to the Super Nintendo stuff. The 64 stuff's yeah.
But you're also forgetting that it's on top of the base cost, so you have to pay for both. It's not one price for that. It's you pay the base cost, and then that's the extra increase cost.
Oh, really? I thought it was the 50 includes the prior, but you have to do both.
Yes.
No, I'm pretty sure when I was checking out and getting my standard subscription, it was like an additional 35 or so on top of the 35. So in total, it comes out to 80 for the year, which again, that comes out to like $6 and change a month. So people are freaking out about it, but it's not that terrible. I don't think. But anyway, again, I don't need it. But yeah, so we are a Switch household now. And I will eventually get around to Metroid after Meg catches all the Pokemon.
I was just on my Animal Crossing island today trying to pick some weeds and make it look nice. So when you guys actually do get Animal Crossing, I did visit.
You're setting up the house.
It's in a good form. You don't see it in the slovenly state of neglect that it's been in.
So are you telling me that you're enjoying doing chores, getting ready for people to come visit you?
Digital chores. I enjoy digital chores, not analog chores.
The same chores that you like ragged on my ass about Stardew Valley.
Well, see, that's the weird thing. Stardew Valley, like I played Stardew Valley for, I don't know, like a week or so, but for some reason, I don't know, the connection with that. Yeah, I think with Animal Crossing, everything is much more upfront. It's like, hey, do this, pick these weeds, go here, plant this tree or whatever.
Okay.
With Stardew, it's a little bit more veiled. Like even now, I don't really even know like what I was doing. Was that efficient? Was it good? Like, should I have gone into the cave and fought more monsters? Should I have
Doesn't
tried to make
matter.
more friends in
Yeah, well,
town?
that's the thing about Stardew is you literally can do whatever the fuck you want. If you
Yeah.
don't want to pull those weeds, you
Yeah.
don't have to pull those weeds. If you
No
want to go
worries.
play in the cave for a few
Mhm.
hours, you can go do that.
Mm.
you
Also,
know?
really, I think the biggest thing that got me from Stardew Valley was that fatigue system or whatever, where like I could go and I could chop down like 2 trees and then that's it for the day. You know, I better go rest, otherwise I'm gonna fall down or something. Exhaustion will cause me to just black out wherever I'm at.
No, I haven't played Stardew, but when you did you breeze past the character selection screen and accidentally make your farmer like 90?
I don't think so, but who knows? Maybe.
Yeah.
It's a mechanic in the early game before you really figure out the fatigue system and get the food that will replenish your fatigue, but it's a mechanic that forces you to do the social interactions and the other like non-fatigue related stuff after you've already done your farm maintenance.
I don't know, guys. I mean, I get pretty fatigued after like social interaction, and I mean, Zoom calls like knock me out.
It can be a lot sometimes.
Well, this dovetails right into a big headline that came out a couple days ago that Meg was super excited about. The creator of Stardew Valley, Eric Concerned Ape Barone, released a teaser trailer on YouTube for his latest project. Or he actually said in interviews that he's actually been working on multiple projects, but this is going to be, he's most far along on this one. So this will be the next one coming out. And it's Haunted Chocolatier.
Oh, okay, that's what that is. I saw a post of that, but I wasn't sure what to make of it.
Yeah, and from the
So
looks
that's
of it,
gonna be
it's very similar to Stardew, but you're running a giant chocolate factory.
Okay.
The art is identical to Stardew Valley, so
It
it's
looks
basically
very
the same engine as Stardew Valley.
Yeah. And
I found it funny. There's people that are saying that Stardew Valley and this new one are actually just on opposite sides of the mountains from each other.
yeah, when you look at the art in the teaser, the gameplay trailer and stuff, you see there's like these, this mountain background in the distance. And so that's basically the internet's head canon they've decided, or fan canon. It's like, oh, okay, like Stardew Valley is taking place on the other side of those mountains. It's all the same world.
In the first one, you've given up the corporate life to go live in the fucking the rural area on your grandfather's farm, and then in this one, you're giving up the corporate life to be in the city but have your own small business.
There you go.
You're basically like Willy Wonking it up sort of thing.
Willow wonking it up. Yeah. And then like some what's that? Oh, what's that little chocolate, what Rocky Mountain chocolate, whatever store in
Rocky Horror Picture Show Chocolate Factory.
Sure. One of the representatives comes to your factory trying to buy you out to go corporate. So yeah, I don't think there's any release on that, at least date at all. He's just saying it's in development.
Judging by the looks of it, sometime next year.
Yeah,
Yes.
It looks super far along already, so I'd imagine he'd
But at
release
the
it
same
early.
time, like on that Reddit article, he said that he doesn't really know what direction he wants to go in with the concept. Like he's got pretty much the map and all the townspeople and all that kind of stuff, but he doesn't really have like much of a story of what exactly you're supposed to do.
Well, Stardew was released in the same way. Like Stardew was released as an early access,
All right.
as not a completely finished game like it is now.
Yeah,
Okay.
he builds and builds on it as he goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
that's the sort of like way indie games are made, unless it's a completely 100% story driven game, you're releasing an early access without being feature complete. Like that's just the nature of indie development now.
All right. And sometimes AAA titles by accident.
Yeah, sometimes AAA. Cyberpunk. Excuse me.
Well, speaking of indie games, Todd, you alerted all your Facebook friends to the Turbo Kid game Kickstarter
Yes.
about a week or so back. They smashed through their funding goal in about 10 hours, I believe.
Mhm.
And last I checked today, they were almost at 90K when they were originally asking for 40.
Wow.
Yeah, I think if I remember right on their Kickstarter page, they said that they had the game mostly done, but they were just looking for some extra support to like really put a polish and extras on it and stuff.
Yeah, the game's already been in development for about 2 years now, I would say, maybe more if they've done like unannounced stuff before.
Mm.
But they've released multiple like teasers and little feature videos and stuff like on it. Um, it already looks great. So like even before the Kickstarter, I was hyped for it.
Yeah, much hype. I think that's all I had for the world of games. Todd, anything or Andrew?
The bigger news, I the rumors were true. Grand Theft Auto Trilogy, the definitive
Oh.
edition, is coming out.
Mm.
So the Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas are getting a facelift and are coming out. I think holiday season this year or early next year. I can't remember the date.
Nice, pretty soon.
Did they
Yeah,
say what
and
systems those are coming out on? Is that the 4, the 5, the?
all current consoles and PC.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, if you have a Game Pass, I think you get San Andreas, but I don't think you get the whole trilogy.
Okay.
Um, Elden Ring, I don't know if people were hyped for the, well, I don't know if either of you two were on the radar for this. It's a Souls-like game that had some George R.R. Martin influences. He helped out with some of the writing on it. That's delayed till next year. We have God of War is coming to PC. So if you were interested in the God of War games and you never played them on PS, you can play them on PC now. Well, soon.
The entire franchise or what?
Yeah. The latest ones, and then they're going to release some of the older ones that already had updates for previous consoles.
Nice.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, we're getting to that point where it's like, do we keep the PS3 plugged in? I mean, I still haven't played a few of those old like greatest hits titles, but now we got to find room for the Switch dock. And I mean, most of the time we'll be playing that handheld anyway. But anyway.
And
Yeah,
three last pieces of little news that I had. Darkest Dungeon 2. I don't know if either of you played Darkest Dungeon. Tony, I think you'd really like it. You too.
I actually started Darkest Dungeon on the PC, and I couldn't understand the mechanics of how it was all working. Like, I just struggled so hard on that game that I gave up.
It's a very brutal game. Like, it's difficult. Even for me, it is a difficult game. Like,
isn't that one of those where every time you like it's a dungeon crawler and every time you run into a monster, like you lose a like sanity meter or something that you have to keep track of? Yeah.
There's essentially two health bars. You have your regular health and you have your sanity, and you have to manage both. You have there's like, so you have a party of 4 characters, and then you have a roster of like 12 different types of characters that you can have, or there might be more now, but you basically have to come up with party compositions that can manage both your health and stress and still deal enough damage to kill monsters in a reasonable amount of time. So it's a very fun game, but also a very unforgiving game if you're new or don't grasp the mechanics.
If you don't have enough,
Meg.
if you don't have enough stress in your actual life. Yeah.
But it is one of the games that does have a story mode difficulty, so you can like tune down the difficulty.
Gotcha. I think the first time I remember ever seeing a game with that mechanic, the sanity meter or management, was Eternal Darkness for the 64. Do you remember that?
I recognize the name. I don't think I ever played it.
I barely remember anything from it, but it was similar. Like every time you encountered something supernatural or crazy, I didn't even own it myself. It was one of those like back in school days where you hung out at your friend's house after school and watched them play games. Same thing for Vice City. I actually never played most of Vice City at all. I just watched my friend John play it. But Eternal Darkness, it got to a point where if your sanity, if you started going too insane, then the game would do all kinds of shit. Like it would turn up and down the volume of your TV. The screen would blip off as if to think like your TV just lost power, and it would pop back on like 5-10 seconds later. Like it did all kinds of crazy shit. It was fun.
It's trying to play with your actual sanity, not your in-game sanity.
Yeah. Oh man.
But in relation to that and Darkest Dungeon, the trailer for Darkest Dungeon 2 has come out because Darkest Dungeon is now about 4 or 5 years old. So part 2 is being released, I believe, in early access by the end of this year. So the trailer for that is out on YouTube if you want to check that out.
Cool.
And then we also had a new little bit of, so Bethesda is gearing up for Starfield, and Starfield is expected to be released next year.
Right.
So we're starting to get little videos here and there coming out about the game, and we have a setting video that came out earlier this week. Basically, it's about 200 or 300 years into humanity's future, and we have settled a nearby galaxy, and there's a conflict between the two major settlement factions, and you are an explorer in the explorers faction, which is not a colonized faction, but sort of like your rangers that are out there looking to protect the wildlands and to discover things and that kind of stuff.
Nice.
So we got that, and then the last thing that I had was, where'd it go? Oh, so a little tiny tidbit for the new Wolverine game. I don't know if either of you played Spec Ops: The Line, but that's one of the greatest games I've ever played that I'll never play again.
Yeah. Okay.
The reason being is it's fucking brutal. So it's like a really it's a story-driven shooting game, but it's based on like modern military industrial complex kind of war. There's a fictional war in Dubai or in UAE. The Burj Khalifa is there or some analog to it. And you go in there and like this entire sandstorm has devastated the region, but instead of being like peacekeepers, we're kind of an occupying force, and it's like the brutalities of war and all that kind of stuff. There's a couple of missions specifically where it's very haunting and very like, whoa, you have to put the controller down after you play it and kind of take a break. That one actually does play with your sanity a little bit.
Oh, okay. Just
but in a different way.
Like.
Yeah, it's brutal story-wise.
Okay.
But so the way that relates to the new Wolverine game is the writer for Spec Ops: The Line is one of the main writers for the Wolverine story. So we know that it's going to be good story-wise.
Cool. Nice. When you said brutal again, I was thinking like, oh, it's going to be an impossibly difficult game again. It's like, oh, the creators of Dark Souls are behind the new Wolverine game.
No, this is brutal in a different way. Definitely.
The roughest one to date for me is still The Last of Us, and I still haven't even played the second one, and I've heard it's just as bad, if not worse. I mean, it's amazing storytelling, but like it's just like, god damn, like super dark and just depressing.
See if you can find Spec Ops: The Line. I think Steam has it on sale usually anytime one of their Steam sales come up for like $5 or $10. It's definitely a plus game. Like I said, that you'll only play one time. Yeah. You will play it through for the story, and you'll never play it. Even though the game mechanics were actually satisfying and well done for like a cover-based shooter, the story like wins out, and it's top notch.
Yeah. I'll add it to the never-ending list. I'm hoping to get through more games much quicker now. I have cut back the overtime hours, at least in the evening. So, you know, Meg and I have more time together, and whether we're watching shows, but mainly now she's all up in the Switch. That leaves me time for
all up in the Switch.
All up in the Switch.
So far up there.
That leaves me with the TV and the PS4, and I've been mainlining Tomb Raider for the last couple of weeks. The Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Yeah, it's the third one of the rebooted trilogy. Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm liking it a lot. Good stuff.
When you thought you were done with Doom, huh? Didn't you?
What?
You thought you were
Oh.
done with Doom.
I am done with Doom. Yes, but I
So
know there's a story. Go ahead.
there's a new mode that has just been released or is coming soon. I don't know which Horde mode, which is all new challenges and new monsters to fight and new mode to play in the latest Doom game.
It's for the hardcore people. Like if you want more of a challenge, then yeah, there you go. Just it's like insanity, nonstop insanity. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. We got a bunch of trailers over the last 2 weeks of movies and TV as well. Well, more video games actually. Well, movies and video games. The DC fandom event was not this yesterday, but the previous Saturday. There's trailers for The Batman with Robert Pattinson, the Flash movie, which it was just a smaller teaser, but you got to see multiple Ezra Millers and a long voiceover with basically him meeting Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne Batman. And there was a couple, I think, extra trailers for the DC video games coming out, like the Suicide Squad video game coming and Gotham Knights, I want to say.
Yeah. So Gotham Knights is the spiritual successor to the Arkham franchise.
Yeah, which was fantastic. I'm all in with that. And Suicide Squad because it looks fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was the animated trailer for Suicide Squad versus what was it? Kill Superman or something? I forget the title. But was that on there as well, or was that its separate release?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if they released a new one, but I think I remember that being announced a while back. I didn't know if there was another teaser a while back. Okay. Oh, there was a teaser trailer for Peacemaker, season 1 on which will be on HBO Max, with John Cena being batshit insane, and it looks magical, and I will watch the crap out of it.
Yeah, it's Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
Oh,
right.
Okay, yeah, that's
right.
Okay.
Yeah, what did you think of those Batman? Well, one is a trailer for the Batman movie, and the other one is The Flash. But everybody's like, "This is the Batman's movie."
I thought it looked good. The Selena Kyle looked amazing.
Oh yeah, it was
the little bit we see of her.
Zoe Kravitz.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Why do I always get her and Zendaya mixed up? I don't know why.
Because they're the same person.
They're vaguely similar. I can see the confusion.
Pretty similar thing, yeah.
Yeah. Similar build, similar height, similar appearance in general.
The Batman trailer, I was intrigued. At the same time, I like that there's a lot of Penguin because we haven't had an iteration of that since Batman Returns. So I like that they're leaning back that direction instead of giving us like another Joker or something. At the same time, I was kind of like, it feels after, and maybe this is unfair to just compare it to what's come before because there's always going to be the previous Batman to compare it to. But I was intrigued by it, but at the same time, it felt like it was competing with like the Chris Nolan franchise. Like, ooh, you thought that was dark and gritty Batman? We're darker and grittier Batman. Yeah.
And there's actual like gritty in the corner.
Yes, gritty. Gritty is playing Robin.
I saw on some website it was saying that this version of the Riddler is going to be much more darker and more devious, almost like the Saw character, or no, the Jigsaw character from the Saw movies, as opposed to like the more classic Riddler.
Hey, would you like to play a game?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm curious about and kind of excited to see that version of it.
Could be,
not quite as lighthearted, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I like that they're revisiting other characters that we haven't seen for a while. Even though again, like those Arkham games were so fantastic, like those versions were pretty great, but in live action form, it'll be cool to see. I mean, there was a lot of Colin Farrell's Penguin in the trailer, and that was cool. Yeah. Yeah,
Which is weird because I don't think he's going to play as big of a role. At least I heard he's going to be kind of a secondary or a short-term villain, while the Riddler's going to be kind of the more overarching villain in that movie. But I guess we'll
short
see. It's,
villain, you
there's not a
say?
lot of information out yet.
short villain. Yeah.
Or just not
Yeah, maybe they're
not Danny DeVito short, but in
nobody's Danny DeVito short. But yeah, maybe that's part of the marketing. They're misdirecting and showcasing a lot of Colin Farrell, so they get to keep Riddler in their pocket as more of a surprise when you get to the theaters. Hopefully they don't fall into the trap of like releasing multiple trailers to the point where you see half the damn movie before you get to the theater. The teaser for The Flash started with Ezra Miller just like talking to the camera because it was part of the DC fandom event, just talking to everybody online and saying like, yeah, we're still like early in production. We don't really have a trailer to show you, but here's a quick little teaser and hope you like it and blah, blah, blah. And it's mainly a voiceover by Michael Keaton. So, like, oh my God, like old school Bruce Wayne, and leads up to Barry Allen or multiple Barry Allen, multiple Flashes. I think there's at least 2 Barry Allens present, and then some other speedster by his side. I think there was a female speedster. Anyway, multiple Flashes from multiple universes meeting up in the Batcave, and Michael Keaton's monologue is something about how, like, let me get this straight, like you can go anywhere you want, anytime, any place, like in this multiple universes. And he's like, what's so special about this one? Like, why are you here trying to save this one? Like, what do you care? And you get bits of moments of Barry meeting up his mom, where if you're familiar with the Flash storyline, his mom tragically dies in the story and kicks off him becoming the Flash. So looks cool. I'm excited for that. Yep. I don't know if there's anything else from DC fan. We got a first Uncharted trailer, which I'm cautiously optimistic with it. It looked a little overly CG Fast and the Furious. I mean, one of the big, they are making a point of showcasing a few of the big action set pieces from the games, and the big one in the trailer it ends on is where Nate is flying. He's falling out of a cargo plane that's like flying out of the middle of the desert, and all of the cargo, like the boxes and all the webbing and everything, is like flopping around in the air from the back of the open cargo plane, and he's back there like climbing on the boxes trying to get back in the plane. And then there's this shot which is like very early CG-ish shot, which, I mean, it's an early teaser trailer, where he like leaps from the box back into the plane. But like the physics of that, there is no way, like he would have he would have been rocketed away from that plane so hard. It looked a bit like a little too leaning into the impossible Fast and the Furious bonkersness.
Oh, geez, Mr. Wahlberg.
Yeah, but fun rapport with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg as Sully. So, and they're using some of the lore from the 4th game, the final game, because a lot of the 4th game is a prequel story. It's going back to Nate as a young kid and his long lost brother Sam. And the story they're using in the movie, it seems, is that his brother is lost, and he got lost searching for this treasure.
You mean his long lost brother is lost?
His long lost brother is lost. Yeah,
he's double lost.
Double lost, triple lost, even
lost squared, if you will.
Yeah.
So lost, he's seeing a smoke monster.
Yeah.
Oh.
And polar bears. You never explained the polar bears. Oh God. Scream, the new Scream, number 5, is it? We got a trailer for that, which looks fun. What's her name? Nev Campbell. Yeah, Nev Campbell back as Sydney, Courtney Cox, and
David Arquette.
Thank you. Yeah. We got to go back and do a rewatch because I remember like nothing from. I watched the first two back in the day plenty of times. The third one I saw like once in the theaters. Fourth one never even bothered. But those ones are always fun.
Same, yeah. I think I saw the first one and then just had people tell me about the subsequent ones without ever actually seeing them because I just didn't have as much of an interest in any of the sequels.
Yeah, those are good. Speaking of slasher stuff, Meg and I watched Halloween Kills.
That was an excited reaction from Meg.
That's Meg's review.
All right, Meg, what's going on here?
It was a movie.
It was certainly a film.
A lot of people are agreeing with you. A lot of people are not happy with this at all.
Yeah, people either love it or they hate it. That's the consensus. And I find more people are disliking it than liking it. But everything with Michael was awesome because Michael is he's Michael. Like, there isn't much to him except for the fact that he fucking kills people. But
big stabby guy.
Yeah, and there were a lot of really cool shots. Like, if you were to freeze frame it, like, it would have been like a movie poster.
Yeah, really great cinematography.
The cinematography was amazing. But they focused more on the townspeople and how they've become like divided and overreactional and just like the drama of the townspeople being townspeople trying to find the monster in the hills. And
then the other half are like, no, he's not real. It's fake news.
But it took away so much from the story. And then at the same time, Jamie Lee Curtis's character Laurie was trying to make it some like more in-depth mythical thing, like he can't die unless I die, or I can't die, and it was just.
Have you guys watched, or do you care if we say spoilers or anything?
Spoil away for me.
Go for it.
Yeah, and so it was just there wasn't even a whole lot of her in the film, to be honest, which in a way makes sense, like in the realistic sense of things, like she wouldn't really be there too much. But they marketed the hell out of the fact that of course she's in it, and then she's like barely in it.
I hate when I hate when like nostalgia cashing in shows or movies do that. The marketing is all centered around this returning huge cast member from the originals way back when, and then they're in it for 30 fucking seconds.
And then at the same time, everybody else in the film were kind of terrible actors. Like it was cringy, and like everybody had to have their hero moment speech throughout the entire fucking film, and it just felt very forced, very unnatural, and it was like cringy trying to get through some of these scenes with these people.
There were a few clunky moments for sure. When like the cheesy like old school action movie, whoever the fuck is the hero like cocks the gun and the camera zooms up and like, let's go get these bastards or something like that, or like, this time it's personal. Well, that happened multiple times with different characters, so we're like, oh, why?
But on the flip side, the best part about the whole film were Big John and Little John, which were the gay couple that moved into Michael's old house. And they were the fucking best. Like, I would have loved to have seen a movie just with them.
I would definitely see. I'm nicer on this film than most people are being. I enjoyed it. It definitely suffers from kind of a trilogy problem where we already know that this is a new trilogy, like an enclosed 3-part story of the Halloween franchise. Like it's the first one that came out a couple years ago, 2018, I think it was a direct continuation from the very first film, 78. And, Michael's coming back 40 years later to attack the town again.
I actually enjoyed that film.
Really good, yeah. And reintroduced everything. Jamie Lee Curtis is totally central to the story. And spoiler for, people who haven't seen it yet, at the end of the first film, she is very gravely injured. And hence, it makes sense in this, part 2, she's down for the count. She's like, hung up in the hospital for most of the film. So people were annoyed by that and like, oh, well, she's like barely in it, but it makes sense for the story because this is all happening in one night. Yeah. So then
but
a lot of these
it like she's in the whole fucking thing.
Yeah. So a lot of these side characters take, the lead, and honestly, these new leads, that's good. I mean, Anthony Michael Hall is one of them, and he's
bad. It was so bad. I hated him.
He's really trying to play a tough guy, like really hard. That was one of those moments, like let's get some, But like Meg said, a couple of the random side characters, these victims that Michael ends up killing just because as he's trudging his way through his path through town, they're some of the most likable people in the film. Like I wish that they lived and like the story carried on with them. What's the guy's name from Mad TV?
Michael
McDonald. Michael McDonald. Who did what was his name? Stewart. Stop. Yeah.
No, I can do it.
Yeah, it's him and this
Look
other
what
guy.
I can do.
Yeah, him and this other guy are married and they're having their little like Halloween just, at home together, all intimate. And then of course, end up dying. Michael just comes to their house. Oh, because they're the new owners of his childhood home. So naturally he comes a calling and he clears out the house. But they are some of the best characters. I'm like, why did they have to die? They were the most entertaining part of this movie. But again, like I still enjoyed it. It just suffered from that trilogy issue with me because since we already know there's a part 3 coming, all of this just kind of feels like filler.
Also, one more thing is they time jumped a lot in the film, which got really confusing.
Okay.
Did they?
Yeah, they did with the cop and like showing how he's actually the one that Michael's after, but not really.
Oh yeah, there was flashbacks.
And then there was like the kid because they showed the flashback from the victim's point of view, and like we're the survivors of Michael, and so we're like part of a cool club now. And it got to be a lot.
Yeah, there was multiple flashbacks again, tying it back to the original movie. That was one cool thing. A lot of the original actors, even though they were like kids in the first film, like they were the kids being babysat by Laurie and her friend, returned for this one and were part of the story again. So that was cool. And the original sheriff, who's like looks like he's 100. And Donald Pleasance, who was the psychiatrist, Dr. Loomis, who was Michael's doctor while he was imprisoned, and then was like hell-bent on killing him once he got loose. He's pure evil, like nothing can save him. He needs to be destroyed or he's just going to kill everybody in his path. Well, he's long passed away. Donald Pleasance passed away, I think in 95. But he was a huge part of the franchise, even a lot of the sequels originally. There's a moment early in this film with one of those flashbacks. It's the sheriff, like when he was confronting Michael and lived to tell the tale from his first rampage. There's a moment where Donald Pleasance is in this scene where you've never seen it before, and I was like, oh, they must have like CG'd him in there. That's interesting, but it sounds just like his voice and everything. And it turns out it was just amazing prosthetics work. It was hair and makeup. They made the choice instead of just spending the money on a whole CG and yeah, they did it was, and the guy posted it on his Instagram. It was their construction coordinator on the set, and they just noticed, oh, he's got a similar frame, like, hey, come to hair and makeup, and they just plastered all this shit on him, and he looks like the spitting image of him. It's like so much better than CG would have been. So I thought that was really cool. But
I will not be rewatching this film.
Meg will not be revisiting.
No.
Well, they got one more to go. We'll see what happens.
Go ahead.
Anybody else watch Dune this weekend?
I'd
watch Dune. Meg and I haven't yet.
Okay.
You want to mute yourselves, Tony, so we can talk for a few minutes?
Well, he's gonna have to edit it and listen to it anyway.
I don't mind
without any spoilers. Like I think it was done pretty well. It's ultimately not the first book. I want to say maybe the first half of the first book.
It's the first half of the first book.
Yeah, it's just a portion of it. Yeah.
And it was pretty well done. It was an interesting what they did with some of the character choices. Like they portrayed them a little bit different than I thought they were going to be portrayed. But the cinematography is awesome. The special effects
The
art,
sound design was
beautiful.
amazing.
Sound design, yeah, just the music and the ambiance of it all was really great. Like looking at Arrakis and the grandeur of the deserts and stuff, it was what I wanted it to be. So ultimately it was pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot. So it was pretty cool.
That's what I was expecting of it. Again, we still have to watch it, but knowing that it was Dennis Villeneuve who did Blade Runner 2049, I knew I was going to see a very beautiful, beautiful movie.
My only complaint is it's like watching Fellowship of the Rings with having a 50% chance that Two Towers never gets made.
Yeah.
We don't even know if they're greenlit for a sequel.
So chances are good, especially considering they had a $40 million opening weekend. Chances are good that there's going to be a sequel. And HBO has, even with their sort of mediocre, like almost bombs, they still get sequels. So chances are good at this point that it's getting a sequel.
Because I thought I heard they were even already filming the next one. Is that?
Well, they filmed some of the sequences and some of the stuff during the filming of the first one, but they didn't film the whole movie.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. Cool. Yeah, I talked to Erica a little bit about it earlier. She texted me. She's like, "Hey, have you watched it yet?" And I was like, "No, but whatever." And she can tell me about it, and she enjoyed it. She wasn't even aware that it was just part of the story, so she was kind of bummed about that. But
well, at the same time, if they were to try and put all of that into one movie, it would not have done as well.
Right.
I'm glad that they were breaking it up.
It was only 2.5 hours, and it was actually, for me, so I've a history with Dune where I have never been able to complete the book. Like I've tried at least 4 or 5 times.
It's so good.
Both reading it and audiobook form, I cannot get through it. It just, the politics just kind of like turned me off eventually after a certain point, and I lose track of the names. And this is who's this? What character is this?
Yeah, I'm the same way, Todd, like 100%. I can't get into it.
I never
like Game of Thrones too. It's all that kind of politics and interpersonal kind of one. So if you like one, you're gonna like the other, and
But I feel like with Game of Thrones, it's more fantasy, and Dune is more sci-fi. And I have
that's the biggest
time with sci-fi stuff.
I would say Dune is a little more dry with it than Game of Thrones is, and Game of Thrones you lose half the characters through half the books anyway. Well, I'm guessing Dune is the same way, where you lose a lot of the characters eventually.
Yeah. It's over such a long time frame that there are very few that continue on through all, if even more than a couple of the books.
But getting to my point is I was able to retain more information from this film, from the interpersonal relationships and the relationship with the Empire and the conflict between the Atreides and the Harkonnen, and then the Atreides and the Empire. I was able to retain more information in this 2.5 hour film than any time that I had tried to read the books.
Well, here's a question for you, Todd. Now that you've watched the film and have a better understanding of all of it, can now you go back and maybe try and read the book and succeed by reading it because you have more of an understanding?
Possibly.
I know sometimes that works for me is if I've understood the movie version enough, whereas then I could go and read the book, it makes more sense to me.
You got a visual reference to memory bank in there.
Especially if it's a really good adaptation, which this seems to be. Like from what I remember of the book, it's been a while since I've read it, but it was pretty much spot on of what happens and who they're speaking with and what transpires. So
I mean, obviously, so the what I'm reading from people that are really big fans of the books, obviously the character stories are hugely truncated, but and then there's obviously entire scenes and motivations that are cut out of the film. But yeah, it's a pretty good adaptation is what a lot of the book fans are saying.
But before this, everybody seemed to absolutely adore the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries, right? From is it like 99 or 2000 or something?
That's the one I've seen.
That was, I think, the Children of Dune or Dune Messiah. I don't think
they did both
as well. Oh, okay.
They did the original Dune and then Children of Dune later. That's what I think we had that on DVD and watched it at some point. It's been years now. I mean, it was fine. I don't remember much from it except it, very old school, traditional hero's journey. the guy is in like some sort of privileged house. He ends up going on his hero's journey. He gets the glowy eyes because of the spice or something, and then ends up becoming like a messiah / leader savior for the downtrodden sand people. That's pretty much it, right?
Close. Yeah.
Close, yeah.
If you get a chance, honestly, and it's worth, I think, at least one watch. It was on HBO Max for a while. I think it might still be. But David Lynch's 1987, I think, Dune.
Yeah, I've always been curious about it.
It's interesting. It's also, if you want to see like young Patrick Stewart, he's on there.
Oh, Patrick Stewart. Yeah.
He looks identical. He looks identical to what he does now. It's just it's him 50 years ago.
Yeah, just maybe one less wrinkle. That's all.
Yeah, just a little bit.
He and Paul Rudd have been hoarding that fountain of youth.
Uh-huh.
Except, to be fair, Patrick Stewart looked 50 when he was 20. He just hasn't become 60 yet.
He's just caught up to his appropriate age now.
Oh, yeah.
So he's pulled a Steve Martin.
Yeah. There you go. He's just frozen in time right there. Yeah, and there's also what Sting and Mr. Mayor are in that, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Yep.
From Portlandia.
He's Paul. And Sting is Rob. So yep, pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, I'll catch that and the new iterations of Dune eventually. We'll probably watch the new one tomorrow or something.
I say watch it. Obviously it would be better in like an IMAX theater, but I still say as long as you got a good enough setup at home with a large enough TV and a good sound system, it's perfectly fine watching.
I watched this on my TV and it was still really good. Like I'm sure, like you said, I'd get a little bit more out of it from a theater with the surround sound and the full IMAX experience or something. But it was enjoyable. Yeah,
the I can imagine the sandworm scene in an IMAX theater. That would be amazing.
Oh yeah. 4D, the sandworm actually comes up and eats your chair.
Back when the 3D theaters were the rage.
No.
Just like actual sand pelting you in the face as you're watching the film.
Oh, it's like that. What is it, like the 4D theater in Disneyland that had like Captain EO and then like a
Honey,
Muppets
I Shrunk the Audience.
Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. Yeah.
The T2 ride at Universal.
Yeah, loved that thing.
Or when it stabs, you feel that sharp pressure of air in the back of your chair.
Yeah, and they spit like water.
One of those theaters also at SeaWorld too.
Oh Jesus!
Probably.
Yeah, it was like it was some underwater like deep sea vessel thing that you dove down, and it was kind of like a Star Tours, but they also like splashed water at you and stuff. Man, I haven't thought about it in ages. Oh man,
is that T2? Is the T2 ride still at Universal?
No, they shut that down a while ago, I think.
I was there on opening weekend for that. That was one of the rare like opening things that I got to do, and that was super fun.
That's rad. That's a good one. I'm sure there's probably a YouTube somewhere of it you could probably watch. But that was a cool one because they also had the stunt actors like pop out of the screen when they jumped through the time portal. There was a moment where they did that, and they had like little like pop like fake gunshot rounds and everything, and while the T-1000 was chasing them, they actually brought out like a motorcycle. That was a fun, yeah. I mean, they still have that damn Waterworld stunt show, don't they? That's been there for 144 years.
I mean, they have just the full infrastructure for it. Like, what else are they going to do with that giant pool and like the towers and everything, the zip lines? Might as well keep running it.
It's still one of their most popular shows. Like,
it's a fun show.
It gets packed every single time it plays. So
we're finally going back to Disneyland next month. I'm gonna take my mom. She's gonna come up on the train and we're gonna go. So that'll be fun. But Universal Studios is one we definitely have to get back to eventually.
Speaking of Waterworld, funny story. There are rumors that there's a Waterworld TV show in development right now.
Oh, we talked about that.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, on a previous podcast. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's bonkers freaking news, but I'm all for it.
That'd be like 30 years later, basically. When did that movie come out?
Early 90s.
95, I think. I think that was 95.
Yeah, it was Waterworld and Postman for Costner. Both of those came out like 95, 96.
Yeah. All right. Okay, we got a bunch more news. We're rambling on like old people.
Like we do all the time.
Yes, like we do. I just have to stop fighting it. But we can't have this podcast be like 4 hours long.
You could. You just choose not to.
Yeah. Our audience would just be Joe Rogan listeners. Kevin Smith was chatting about his Netflix series, Masters of the Universe Revelation.
Part
First
2
off,
comes out soon.
yes, part 2 got a release date in November 23rd, I believe. Yeah.
November's going to be a big month for Netflix. They've got a lot of shit coming out.
They
Yeah.
already have a lot of shit out that they just got out this month.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a funny bit with him on, I think it was on his Fat Man Beyond podcast, and he was talking about the conversations he was having with Netflix, because he was basically said like, I can't say numbers because of like Netflix's like super, tight-lippedness about that, but he was asking them about like the viewership and everything, and Netflix is like, oh yeah, we're very happy. He said like, when he goes and makes a movie, like, for $10 million and it makes $10 million or more back at the box office, it's like, okay, yay, I got my money back. But he was asking Netflix, like, how does it work? Like, do you have something like that? And they said, yes, we have a version of that. And based on that, they are very, very happy. He's like, I don't want to say shit because I don't want to get in trouble, but it was like insane. So looks like there's going to be plenty of Masters of the Universe to come. Yep.
It was huge itself when it came out, the hype around it, and then I think it got gigantic when all of the crybaby whiners started hitting Twitter, and everybody then went to watch it to find out, oh, what are all these whiners talking about? Why are they saying it's so awful?
Mhm.
And then they watched it, and then everybody else enjoyed it, and then it just became huge. Like it was, I guess it was number one in like UK and Europe for like weeks. It was the top Netflix show for like 2 or 3 weeks in UK and Europe.
Yeah.
I don't know. That Squid Game is up there.
Squid Game. I only watched bits of that. Meg watched all of that, but that's
So good.
Squid
yeah,
Game
that's
was
pretty
fun.
cool.
That was a cool one. Yeah.
In other bizarro news, we've talked about bits of this news coming out before, but Rob Zombie doing his Munsters movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'll watch it.
yeah,
But my bar is real low.
yeah, for sure. But he's been posting a lot about it online. He shared how they're reconstructing the house, and he was like obsessed about getting it just right and accurate to the old 60s show. And then he released just this past week a
Trivia, what was their address?
666 something.
Nope.
1616.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
1616 Mockingbird Lane.
Nope.
What?
1313 Mockingbird Lane.
1313 Mockingbird Lane. Okay. Well, he released on Instagram a few days ago first cast picture. I just sent you the link. And
Ooh.
I mean, they look pretty solid. Like it's looking.
The house and the cast look okay.
The house looks spot on.
Yeah.
Grandpa looks spot on.
Yeah. So
Herman
Grandpa
looks
is
there.
Is the
Jay,
mom
Jay Leno.
related to him? Is that like his wife or something?
That's his
Sherry-
wife.
Yeah, Sherry Moon Zombie.
She's in everything.
Yeah, so
yes.
Jeff Daniel Phillips, I'm not familiar, is Herman Munster, Sherry Moon Zombie, Lily Munster, and Dan Roebuck as Grandpa Munster. They're all
The
pretty
only-
spot on, except, I mean, you're never going to get that Fred Gwynn face.
No.
Nobody
Dan-
can do that.
I will never think of Dan Roebuck is a character actor that's in tons of things,
Yeah.
but I will never think of him as anything other than Dollar Store Jay Leno, because he was in the TV movie The Late Shift as Jay Leno. It was the movie about the conflict between Leno and Letterman over getting the Tonight Show.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mhm.
So he's Kirkland signature, Leno.
Yes.
Great value, Leno. All right.
I can never see him in any other show and not think of his performance as Leno.
Yeah. I mean, this is still Rob Zombie, so I feel like at some point he's gonna pull the rug from under us, and it's gonna look like everything's gonna look fantastical and hunky dory 60s like, and then once they get inside the house, it's just blood, guts, and gore. But who knows? Maybe this might be him, skirting the direction, kind of like Eli Roth started doing like family friendly movies and stuff. Well, in doing some of that on the side in between his crazy horror stuff.
Well, Rob Zombie has been directing like TV shows, so like he's also been doing like CSI kind of stuff and
And
like
who's
procedurals.
And who's to say he doesn't take a more sinister approach with the Munsters and it becomes fucking awesome? Maybe that's like, yes, I know the Munsters we all know and love are kind of cheesy, dorky, like slapsticky, but I would also like to see the actual terrifying version of the Munsters.
Yeah, so what if Grandpa's doing human experiments in his basement?
Yeah. In other wacky horror character news, we're finally picking up on the third season of What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes.
We're just a couple episodes in, and of course it's fantastic as ever.
Love that show. I really can't wait to get to the end because I want to talk to someone about it so bad who's seen this whole season. Because
give us till the end of the week, Andrew.
Oh yeah, we're gonna floor right through it.
We'll talk about it at book club.
Yeah, for sure. What else we got? Oh, another horror related stuff. There was just news. There's another Last Drive-In special coming. The Walking Dead. So Joe Bob posted a video saying we don't normally do TV shows, but seeing as The Walking Dead is finally ending after 100 years, he's hosting they're going to watch the first 2 episodes of the show and
in black and white.
I don't know.
Because the season 1 black and white is probably the best way to watch it.
Yeah, I think I still might have that on Blu-ray, or did I give that away? I'm not sure. I'll have to look in our DVD collection. But producer Greg Nicotero is going to be on board watching it with him. So that's going to be this Friday, the 29th on Shudder and AMC Plus. So that'll be a good one. We still haven't even watched the Halloween special.
We're so far behind on that show.
We are. Well, again, I've got my nights more free now, so we should start flying through some Joe Bob. Yeah. Another bit of movie news that I did not see coming. Well, actually, it's going to be a series. History of the World. Mel Brooks's History of the World Part 1 is now getting a Part 2.
About fucking time.
Oh my God. Variety series ordered at Hulu. Mel Brooks to write and executive produce. So
his co-writer is going to be Nick Kroll, by the way.
I'm sold.
Yeah.
I love Nick Kroll.
Mel Brooks writing. Oh, that again reminds me, not to bounce around, but that's what my brain does. There was also a Big Mouth season 5 trailer that came out. Fantastic. But yeah, Mel Brooks writing, executive producing on the series, along with Nick Kroll, Wanda Sykes, Ike Barinholtz, David Stassen, and Kevin Salter. No word yet on what world events the series will cover, but Hulu has ordered 8 episodes of the show, and writing room is beginning in October. Production slated to begin in spring next year. It's new Mel Brooks, which I didn't see coming, and that's it. I'll watch anything attached to that man's name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think I've ever seen the first History of the World, so maybe I should check that out.
Absolutely.
It's been many years since I've seen it. Probably like 10 years or more since I've seen it.
That was 1981 was the first one.
It's one of those movies that always popped up on like TBS and AMC, and it's an infinitely rewatchable background movie. Like you like the first couple of times you watch it, you pay attention for the jokes, and then you can always have it on in the background. Yeah. And it's just one of those great films. It's
Mel Brooks and a few other comedians of the time just kind of bouncing around different historical eras. So there's like the French Revolution, and he's the king, and he's a complete dick. He's back in Roman times with I think it was Gregory Hines.
Yeah, and he's a complete schmuck.
Yeah, he's a stand-up philosopher. And he's out of work. It's God damn it, now I gotta watch it now. It's just it's a fun, good old fashioned comedy. I mean, it's slow because it's kind of older style, Mel Brooks comedy. I mean, he's from way back in the day. So if you watch this earlier stuff like that, the producers, things like that, then it's more of a slow pace sort of thing. But that was 1981. That was when he was starting to transition to a little more upbeat stuff like Spaceballs in 85. So it's a History of the World Part 1, still very watchable.
It's
sure.
very Mel Brooks wink and nod style comedy. Like, very, very fourth wall breaking kind of stuff.
Yeah.
More Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles. Yeah, of course. Very similar vibe. Yeah, I'm excited as hell for that. Oh, what else in the movie, TV? Over in the land of Star Wars.
Huge news.
We already knew Hayden Christensen was going to reprise his role as Anakin / Vader, or they haven't really specified. They just said he's attached to the show, the Obi-Wan series coming. And now it's been announced that he will also be back in the Ahsoka spinoff. So
that one, is going to be more of like a Force Ghost or flashback, because
flashbacks probably, yeah,
dead at this point.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Meg was just, we were talking about this earlier, and she's like, hey, did you hear about this? And I said, yeah, it's probably going to be flashbacks to like their training during the Clone Wars or adventures during the Clone Wars, because I mean, in present time where this Ahsoka spinoff is supposedly going to take place, it's in the Mandalorian time, which is post Return of the Jedi. So, Luke already confronted Vader and the Emperor. They're dead already. Like 5 years passed. So
the Emperor's pseudo dead.
Could also be
pseudo dead. Yeah. No, he's dead. He's dead.
Could be Force Ghost Anakin, because in the most recent edition, wasn't he the Force Ghost next to
they replaced
Yoda and what at the end? So
I didn't even think of that idea. He could be a Force Ghost. That could be cool. Yeah. All right. Neat. So they got options there. Over in the land of Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 just gained Adam Warlock, which I'm not too familiar with the character, but he's like the superhero name is Nova, right? He's like the head of the Nova Corps, or like
he is a member, but he's also he's a Captain Marvel level powered individual. So he's one of the top powered heroes / anti-heroes in the universe.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, back in the comics of the original Infinity War, I think he was the one actually who pulled the Tony Stark and saved the day.
I think so. I think you're right.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. So it's interesting to see what they do with him now with that power level, and if they're going to really translate that the same way.
So the actor announced for the role is in fact Will Poulter. If you're not familiar with him, I'm not trying to be a dick, but the guy's got a very unique look.
He's the eyebrow kid.
I love him. I think
he's a very baby-faced.
Yeah. Though the most recent pictures they put out for him, it looks like they give him, like the Disney treatment of like getting.
Oh, he's got Marvel swell and glammed up. Yeah. Okay, I'm seeing a more recent picture of him. Yeah, he's grown into himself for sure.
Yeah, it looks like with the photos that they posted with that announcement, I can see him in the role with some basic makeup and stuff attached to it, maybe a different hairpiece or something. But yeah, like I can see it.
Also, like if they're going into the next few phases, they probably want younger actors to play for long periods of time. Yeah. He could potentially play this character for 10 years or more, just like the original cast that played their Avengers for 10 years or plus.
Yeah, for sure.
I've always liked him as an actor.
Yeah, the first thing I remember seeing him in is
I'm very curious. I know that you're English, so I was
stupid auto videos in the articles. The first thing I remember seeing him in is We're the Millers.
No. He was in that comic rendition, Archie. No, not Archie. Was that Archie?
Archie? Was it Archie?
Riverdale? Or
no.
What?
It was Sunday newspaper cartoons.
Okay, we'll have to look it up.
He was actually, before anything, I think he was part of this weird improv sketch show in on BBC or in Britain or something that was mildly
Runner.
entertaining as well.
More.
Narnia.
He was
I
in
forget why I saw
Narnia,
him in that. He is?
wasn't he?
Thinking about somebody else?
I don't know. Let me look it up.
No, he was
Is it-
in Chronicles of Narnia.
Oh, okay.
The Chronic What Girls of Narnia? Prince Caspian, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I remember where the Millers.
What's his name again?
Will
Maze
Maze
Poulter.
Runner, he was in.
Poulter. Yeah, Maze Runner. I remember him in that now.
Yeah. He was in Bandersnatch. I didn't watch the whole. I should have watched more of that. But that Black Mirror kind of interactive thing on Netflix. He played a pretty
yeah.
solid
That's
Oh,
role.
maybe I was thinking of somebody else. My bad.
Okay. Anyway,
My bad.
but yeah, so got the Adam Warlock coming.
I should
So-
so, on Black Mirror.
The tease from end of Guardians 2 end credit scene will finally come to fruition.
Is
Well,
it
they
gonna be-
may reboot that. They may,
Retcon.
yeah.
Because he was being made by the what's the faces gold people.
the cloners? Yeah.
Yeah.
Though is Guardians 3 or the holiday special coming out first? I thought the holiday special was first, and then
Yeah.
Guardians 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're filming them back to back. James Gunn said the special will come out first, and it will kind of be like key for the story. It kind of helps pick up where the characters have left off. And we're going to get a few doses of Guardians coming up because most of the team is part of Thor: Love and Thunder.
Mhm.
So we're going to see them there. We're going to get the holiday special, and then we're going to get Guardians 3 as their grand finale. Yeah. Speaking of the Marvel stuff, I saw a funny article the other day. Apparently, at Disney California Adventure right now, they have the Avengers campus there, and like the animatronic Spider-Man flying all over the place and whatever. Well, since What If finished up, and if you watched all that, there was the awesome zombie episode.
Mhm.
Now, during their whole Oogie Boogie, Halloween celebrations and decorations all throughout October, they've got a zombie Captain America walking around scaring people.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, there's pictures of video on online, and he's freaking the hell out of people. He looks very accurate. It's awesome. Yeah. And speaking of Disney and the Marvel stuff, there were some headlines though that there are more movie delays. I don't know if they said a specific reason, if they're just again pushing things out, trying to avoid low like COVID audience numbers or what, but Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness got pushed.
And virtually their entire lineup got pushed by 2 to 3 months.
Thor: Love and Thunder, Black Panther 2, and Indiana Jones 5, like nearly a year. So instead of July 2022, it's going to be June 2023. Harrison Ford's going to be 100 years old by the time the movie comes out.
Pretty much.
But yeah. Anyway, it's not like we're lacking of things to watch.
Yeah.
Clearly. The Walking Dead is getting another spin-off show.
Jesus
Christ.
Christ.
Another one?
Stop shooting a dead horse.
This is
God.
Tales of the Walking Dead,
Shit.
which is premiering. I'm liking the format change though. This is coming summer next year, and this is an anthology series. So every episode is going to be a standalone with new characters in the universe and some already introduced characters as well. Just a bunch of like side stories, one-offs. So
Don't care.
could be interesting.
Give us something completely new. Give us like
Yes.
something based in another country. Something like give us a
Yeah.
UK Walking Dead.
Yeah. They finally hinted at that in the World Beyond show because they're doing their second season, and the militant group, I can't even freaking think of their names right now. Their leader is like talking to somebody about like all the rebuilding of the world they're doing and everything, and they're saying, look at this place, look at that place, and they name drop some places in Europe about how like hordes of zombies have just like devastated cities, just like massive ultra hordes just walking through the place. And it was the first time in any of these shows in the Walking Dead verse that they ever mentioned anything outside of America. So I don't know. Yeah, hopefully we get more of that. That'd be interesting. And speaking of awesome post-apocalyptic stuff. The show that I was waiting for forever, Why the Last Man, was abruptly canceled.
Didn't even finish airing the whole season. The season's gonna get aired, but
Yeah,
Before it even ended, they put the kibosh on it. Huh?
no, it's a weird story, this whole thing. So the initial news came out, everybody's shocked, and there's been follow-up articles clarifying the network, I guess, clarifying the reasoning for it.
Which is
It's money. It's so apparently because this went through development hell and different iterations of like cast and crew, like they had Diane Lane attached and like the lead guy, like all the way back like 4 years ago or something. And then the showrunners got replaced. And so basically they had these long-standing actor contracts where they have to keep, if they want to keep them attached to this series, they have to shell out even more money to like keep a hold of their scheduling essentially. It came down to that, like a weird money and timing issue. So
they just cut ties.
yeah, the actor contracts are about to expire and FX would have to throw in an additional $3 million just to hold the actors for a potential season 2. And instead they just let it go.
Was it Netflix or Amazon?
This is FX.
good old standard original TV.
Yeah, FX, and also their partnership with Hulu, where they
Okay.
instantly released
that was like an
there.
Amazon Prime thing, but okay, cool.
No, yeah, I mean, I think it bounced around a few networks for a while. It's been in development for like 10 years. But the showrunner was very adamant and hopeful that, like they're saying, this is devastating news, but they're hoping to keep this going at another network. All the reviews that I've been seeing in passing were very positive. I was going to wait until the whole season was up so I could just binge it. But there's been a lot of positive talk about it. And then these follow-up articles were saying from people in the know, apparently, it really had to do with that, the cast and money problems versus the viewership. There's nothing wrong with the viewership. So don't know, but they're hoping, since they're hoping to land at HBO Max, since the DC Comics also owns the imprint Vertigo, which published Why the Last Man. So their business daddy can hopefully save them over at HBO Max. So we'll see. What else? Anything else in the? We got our answer for the John Wick prequel, the Continental series. We were racking our brains who the hell could play a young Ian McShane. to which I say I think that's still pretty impossible. But Colin Woodell is the actor who is going to be young Winston of the Continental. I am not familiar with this guy at all.
Yeah, I don't think he's a big name as of yet at all.
Yeah, he's been in just a few things in the last few years.
Riverdale or something like that, did I see?
No, there was a thriller, The Neighbor, that came out in 2017. He was part of that Purge TV show on USA. The Flight Attendant, that one with Kaylee Cuoco.
Oh, okay, I watched that. Yeah.
Yeah. And Unfriended Part 2, Dark Web. Maybe. I know nothing of his acting, so I would have to check him out. But that's going to be the young Winston of the Continental.
I can see it. At least the visual.
Yeah. And also big news there, Mel Gibson has joined the cast as well.
Oh, he's finally coming out.
He's been in a couple small things here and there. He was in the last Expendables movie, which honestly I actually enjoyed.
he's more of a director now than he is a actor.
Yeah, produces and directs, but yeah, we'll see what happens there.
He was in Designated Survivor. Sorry, the guy that's going to play the young Ian McShane. He was in Designated Survivor for a couple of episodes. If you ever watched that.
No, I didn't. I heard about it. I was curious. I saw the trailers and it looked interesting, but
it was good for the first 2 or 3 seasons, and then it got canceled and picked up for Netflix for a season or 2, and the final season or 2 sucked ass.
All right. Todd, I noticed. You sent me a text of it. That's why you were indulging in the Cowboy Bebop before we
Yeah.
started recording.
I think the last time I'd watched it is when I'd first started living with you guys. So I decided it was time for a rewatch
Yeah.
in honor of the upcoming new show coming out next month.
Yeah, I've kind of been tempted myself. Did you catch the short that they released?
Yeah, that looked slick.
Yeah, it looked fun. Yeah, the Lost Session. Instead of a full trailer or anything, they released a few weeks ago they released the main titles to everyone's delight, and then released this short, which is like a kind of like a condensed episode, the Lost Session, which, if you're a fan of the original show, every episode was officially titled like by sessions because of the whole like music blend into the lore of the franchise and everything. So it's like session 1 episode title, session 2 episode title. So this is the Lost Session, and it's just a quick kind of like a sizzle reel of what to expect from the show, and it's just delightful. It's you got a lot of fun bantering with the cast, so you get a bit of their personalities and their acting. You get the wacky style, very lots of close-ups and zooms and angles, very anime like, just fun. It looks fun. That's all I can say. I'm trying not to get overhyped about it and then be let down, so I'm tentatively
You're staying
quite
medium
excited.
hype.
Yeah, medium hype. Yes, a low simmer of hype, but much hype. Yes. November 19th, again, that's coming. So yeah, November, big month. And I think that's pretty much all I got in the world of geek. There is now, I hate to bring down the podcast, but since we do, talk about all things movies and Hollywood and everything, it would be kind of crazy to ignore. There was some pretty insane shit that happened this past week. So Alec Baldwin has been filming in New Mexico, I think around Santa Fe, New Mexico, a upcoming Western. And in fact, I was excited to share some news because I saw just this past week, Jensen Ackles had joined the cast. So he was going to be in there too. It's a old-fashioned Western. Alec Baldwin's the lead. And apparently, out of nowhere, news broke this past, it was only like 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah.
There was a grave incident on set. Apparently, there was a mishandling of a firearm. Alec Baldwin was holding the weapon. It went off. And again, this news broke like in waves. So there was like bits of information and kind of rumors and what exactly transpired. It's still under investigation. But in short, the director of photography was shot and killed. The director of the movie as well was seriously injured, and rushed to the hospital, and they're doing fine. But the director of photography, and I apologize, I have to pull up the name again. Helena Hutchins. She's only like 42 years old, was shot and killed Thursday. It actually happened. And it was a prop gun, and this led to a bunch of explainer articles because, this leads the question, like, how does this stuff happen? Just like Brandon Lee in The Crow, it's something like that all over again. Like, how do these things happen? Like, I thought blanks are safe. That's why they use them in movies. And there's a lot of explainer articles out there saying like, no, it's still very dangerous. And there are tons of safety protocols in place. The prop masters and armorers, they do tons of safety checks before and after every scene, handing it off, to the actor who's going to use it, saying the weapon is clear, meaning they've checked it. There's no, rounds in there or anything, obstructing the weapon or anything. It's good to go, good to use in the scene. Apparently, what we do know is that an assistant director on the set of this movie, Rust, did not follow all the safety checks. And there were later articles saying that this person in question had a history of flags on his record for not, skirting around safety protocols. And when Alec Baldwin was handed the weapon from him, he was told that it was clear, that it was safe. There was no, no dummy rounds in there. No, it wasn't loaded at all. No blanks, nothing. It was safe to use in this scene. And they were either filming or rehearsing a scene. The trigger was pulled, and apparently it was in the direction of the cinematographer. She was shot.
They were trying to, I think the story goes, they were trying to get a close-up shot of the weapon firing.
Okay. Yeah. So in the case of, so there's a number of things that could happen. In the case of Brandon Lee, and I looked up and got a refresher on that, the previous blank round, because the only difference between a blank and just a standard bullet is there's no actual propelling bullet at the end of the casing. So you've got the same gunpowder in there. Sometimes they fill it halfway, so it's not as powerful, but you've got the same gunpowder in there to create the, explosion of hot gas and muzzle flash and everything, which is also, even if you don't have a bullet, the bullet at the end firing out of there, even if you've removed that, and sometimes they pinch down the metal, or they just have like a wax paper, a wax sealant over it or something,
which still shoots out of the gun though. So that's
there's still hot fire and gas coming out of that gun. And so up close, it can be dangerous just, without any malfunction. In the case of Brandon Lee, again, the proper safety checks were not done, and there was bits of the previous round still stuck in the gun. So when the next blank round was fired at Brandon Lee in the scene, the bullet, it
was the casing of the previous
bullet. Piece of the casing became the projectile and was fired out at Brandon Lee, and that's what killed him. Again, there's still the sheriff. There was some articles that were jumping the gun. There was even a statement from the union that was saying that somebody put like an actual live round, like a bullet in like a normal bullet in the gun somehow. Mm-hmm. And then the sheriff's department of wherever they were in New Mexico said no, that's you're jumping the gun. We haven't even done our forensic investigation on that yet. So the specifics are still a little bit muddy, but long story short, the mishandling of the weapon, the safety checks were not done. The assistant director in question had a history of being problematic with that. And also my friend Elsbeth, who is in the industry and has been sharing a lot of stuff in the past weeks with the pending union strike, which again, crazy that this stuff happens at the same time that they're fighting for better pay and less hours, because things get dangerous when people are exhausted out of their minds. It could have been a completely honest mistake, but and apparently she was sharing firsthand accounts from members of the crew that were out there and saying it was a punishing shoot. The producers were cutting corners left and right. They had promised the crew hotel rooms because they were shooting pretty remote. It was 50 miles out of town. And when they were promised, a nearby room, and then the producers reneged on it when they got to set and said no, it's too expensive. Just make the drive. So after a 15 hour day, these people got to drive an hour, 50 miles into town, get a hotel room on their own dime, and sleep a wink to be back up at the crack of dawn and drive 50 miles back out and be on set. So it's something was bound to happen here. And then on top of that, there were reports from the same crew members saying the safety problem, they're well aware of the safety issues. There was another misfiring of a weapon earlier that day that didn't harm anybody, but a gun went off. It was just sitting in somebody's hand, and there was it went off. So something was sketchy with some of these weapons.
Now, will Alec Baldwin be responsible for her death? What's going to happen with that situation?
So far, they said there was no charges. They were just gathering everybody's stories. Alec Baldwin made a statement. He had been in touch with the husband, with the family, and there seems to be, from what they're saying, no bad blood there. I mean, they know it's not his fault.
Yeah.
It entirely depends, though. He could still be up for manslaughter charges on
Exactly.
Like involuntary.
for two reasons. Involuntary manslaughter for two reasons. A, he was the one holding the gun and he didn't check it himself.
Mhm.
And B, he's the executive producer on set. He is responsible for that set in general.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I mean, if you think about an accident like this happening outside of a movie set situation, like if you were just in your backyard with a few of your friends and a gun accidentally went off, you would be arrested and charged for manslaughter.
Yeah.
So why would he like this situation be any different because he's an actor? You
Yeah.
know?
Because he's an actor.
Yeah.
Because he's a rich actor. And
Yeah. Double standard.
It's terrible. all around.
it all comes down to if they can prove that he was at fault for any of it. So
Yeah.
if he's at fault for any of it, then he can still be charged with manslaughter.
It still sucks though. I mean,
It's
like,
yeah.
a bad situation all around.
Yeah. And even, I mean, everything that, it's horrible that this woman is dead. And at the same time, you got to feel for him is like he had no intention of doing that. And he's got to
Yeah.
live with that for the rest of his life that he killed
Exactly.
somebody.
It's
You know.
the finger that pulled that trigger.
Yeah.
The only tiniest small, like faint light in this is fortunately for the director of was it cinematography or photography?
The cinematographer is the one who was killed. The director of the whole production was was injured but doing okay now.
The union for that she's a part of set up a GoFundMe for her family's expenses and all that. And within like 6 hours or something like that, they had already raised over $100,000 for her
Wow.
family.
Yeah.
So
well, I imagine
Yeah.
just Alec Baldwin in general would it feels like he would be the kind of guy that would be like, let me take care of this.
Just
oh
a
yeah,
neat
you know
here.
he's gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's fucking rough. And there's so many people in the industry talking all over online. Like this is exactly why we're fighting for our freaking rights, like to have better working conditions. Again, like this was, I mean, granted, this particular assistant director who mishandled or did not do the safety checks, as it seems to be coming out as a story, even though he already had kind of some smears on his record in that regard. A lot of people are pointing out like this could have happened to any of us because
Yeah, I mean, they were on
these are the
set
working
for
conditions.
they were on set for 14 hours or something like that before this accident happened.
Yeah.
So like if they were only if this was a normal movie set or if this was a normal job and you're capped out at like 10 hours, 11 hours at most, then maybe this mistake doesn't happen because everybody isn't tired and done and fatigued and just wants to go back to their bed or their bar or whatever they're going to do for the next 4 hours before they have to come back to work.
Yeah, the crew apparently, and this again goes to my friend Elsbeth was resharing some of these personal messages from some of the crew. Apparently, they were already about to stage a walkout. They were about to resign in protest that morning because of the multiple safety complaints, the obscene hours, the issues with getting the hotels, et cetera, like all of it, all the.
I don't think they were about to. I think some of them actually did.
Yeah, it seemed a bit fuzzy. There was reports that they had resigned, and then there were other reports saying that they were basically booted off because they had been complaining about the conditions so much. The producers actually brought in a non-union crew behind their backs that morning to replace them and basically said, fuck off, or we'll call the cops. So it's fuzzy. There's some accounts saying that it seems like they were preparing to resign, or maybe some of them already were announcing that they were leaving. And then the producers already had like a backup crew shoved in there, a non-union crew to replace them at the last minute. So it's all kinds of fucked up. And this, again, speaking concurrently about I was wondering, because I hadn't heard anything lately about the status of the strike. It's essentially the union struck a deal or agreed to a new contract at the last minute, about a week or so back, a week and a half ago. But a lot of their members are furious with them, saying that what they agreed to,
It doesn't do anything.
it doesn't do anything. Like they fixed a few things. They agreed to, they were able to get like a guaranteed 3% raise for everyone per year, which is like nothing. That's like barely keeping up with inflation, if
doesn't
that at
even
all.
keep up. Yeah, it doesn't keep with inflation or cost of living increase.
Not this year for sure. There was a big sticking point was the Fratter Days, which is the basically the studios forcing they can skirt around the rules the way they've been written, where they can't force you to work around the clock through the week, but on a Friday they are allowed to push you into the early morning hours of Saturday, so giving them even less rest time, and that's totally allowable for them to do under the current contracts. They did away with that, and there was something else about the turnaround time during the weeks, like a guaranteed at least 10 hours between shifts. But even so, and somebody broke it down, like a member of the union broke it down online, like all of these rules, when you add up the math, it still equates to, they can force us to work 74 hours per week.
Jeez Louise.
So where's the rest? You know, it's BS. So I know my friend Elizabeth was planning on voting no. It seems like a lot of members are like, no, we're not going to ratify this. And it's possible that we may still see a massive strike. So we'll see. But yeah, it's shitty that something like this had to happen to maybe get some change. And even then, like now, everything's still up in the air. Who knows if they'll get like the actual their demands met? Yeah. So now that brought down the entire podcast. No, but I felt it would be, not appropriate to just pretend like nothing wasn't going on. This week is pretty terrible. So hearts go out to the family and the entire crew and everybody that's suffering because of this.
I'll try to bring a positive note to the end of the podcast at least.
Okay, do it.
One big giant nerddom thing that's happening right now is,
what do we got?
Critical Role, the D&D major super campaign. They are releasing their new campaign. Season 3 essentially started this week. And I know I told you, Tony, not to bother picking up it, even though it's fucking amazing. It's just there's fucking tons of it. If you do want to pick up Critical Role, now is the perfect time, because season 3 they start all new characters. It's a new campaign. All new characters. There's a couple characters that are coming in from a side campaign that they had done, but that's fine. You don't have to know the backstory to any of it. If you want to start watching, go back and watch the VOD of Thursday's episode 1. It was fucking amazing. It was hilarious. It was fun. They have this whole new giant geek nerd set that they built, which is amazing. Like they built themselves a fucking tavern.
I've been knowing for a while in the back of my mind, like I'm gonna have to give this a try at some point because everybody says it's great. I know I'm not the kind of guy who has the patience to sit and play D&D myself, but if other people are making it entertaining for me, sure, I'll give it a try. But is it like 6 hours of them sitting around playing D&D at a time?
It's 4 to 6 hours. There's like a 20 or 30-minute break in the middle of it, so it cuts it down a little bit. But they do release it in podcast form. So if you don't want to sit in front of a TV and watch them play it, you can listen to it, which I mean, it's still fun to listen to it. They do the podcast form. They do live on Twitch and YouTube, and then they have VODs on YouTube the following Monday after they air the show.
Okay.
So
I will have to. Okay.
Is this one also going to have the animated show, or am I thinking of a different one?
No, that's the same cast. They are doing the animated show based off their first campaign.
Right.
So the first campaign that they did years back is going to be an animated show, and that comes out early next year. I think February or March. They released the title
There's a
sequence.
teaser
to it.
for that, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So what is it? Just like a D&D group that just plays D&D and then they record it?
Yeah.
Like I don't understand. Like everybody's freaking out about Critical Role, and I'm like,
So
I don't quite understand what Critical Role is besides a company.
the reason why it's so huge is that it's all voice actors. All of these people are major voice actors for video games and for cartoons and animated shows. Matt Mercer is a huge voice actor for Blizzard. He does multiple voices for Blizzard and tons of video games. They all basically do tons and tons of video games. So if you've played video games, so there is a good chance you've heard at least 2 or 3 of these people do voice acting for video games. So they're all very good improv, and they all have very good voices, and they're all generally funny people. So,
okay. So
and it's them playing D&D.
And it's them playing D&D. And one of them is Lauren Bailey. If you've ever heard of her, she's fucking amazing. And Matt Mercer is the DM. He's fucking insane.
I just didn't understand if it was like you're literally just watching these people play D&D, or if it was like a scripted show that is acted. Like I didn't understand.
No, they're actors.
It was like an actual D&D campaign in a book that's just like, here you go play D&D.
They're playing advanced D&D. They're literally like what you think you're going to be doing when you play D&D is what they actually do, rather than the everybody sitting around drinking beers playing D&D.
Right. Just like really entertaining people, really into it, in character. Like you said, good entertainers, good improvisers. Kind of like if you like At Midnight meets D&D.
Exactly. But they're staying in character almost the entire time. Obviously, they break character to talk amongst themselves to do some things, but they stay in character for the majority of the episode.
Okay.
And then it's hilarious. I'm going to send you a clip, one of the funniest moments from this episode. It's hilarious when they do break character, because somebody will say something obviously that throws them out of it, and then just everybody fucking breaks, and it's hilarious.
All right, I will finally give it a shot. You have sold me. Wasn't Satine a part of it at some point?
No, she had her own show, Sirens. So her show, she actually works for
Wizards of the Coast?
Wizards of the Coast now.
Oh, okay.
So she's got her own like huge D&D side thing going, but she was on back when they weren't back when they were affiliated with Geek and Sundry. She had her own show on Geek and Sundry.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So it was Satine, and it was Vivid Vidka, and then a couple of their ladies.
Yeah, well, yeah, Felicia was Geek and Sundry was her company.
Yeah, Felicia didn't actually do any of the shows. I think she was on for like a couple of one-shots, but she was never on guests, but she was never on any of the D&D shows.
Very cool. All right. I'll have to get on that. Give it a shot at least.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think it's definitely worth picking up now. If you don't want to go back, and rewatch all the old stuff that's available on YouTube, now is the perfect time to pick it up, because they've started a new campaign.
Okay, cool. I actually have one more little story, kind of more Hollywood drama, but this one is kind of more amusing, I think. Not tragic, thankfully. Over in the CW verse.
Oof.
So yeah, this is going to sound like a really harsh, serious story at first, but then it gets very wonky. So Ruby Rose.
Yeah. We're talking about this now, are we?
Meg's laughing because I filled her in earlier. So of course she was famously cast as Bat.
This story makes me so like happy in a really sad way.
So she was, of course, cast as Kate Kane, Batwoman, for Batwoman season 1. Everybody was like, "Yay, go, LGBT representation," and on and on. And a lot of people just think Ruby Rose is hot and whatever. So good for her being Batwoman. Cool. We're excited to watch it, or I was at least, because I've watched all my CW shows. And it was fine.
Let's put this in perspective. When Tony says it's fine, it's fucking garbage, because Tony will like anything.
Was not the best. I love
I hated it. I couldn't even get through the first episode.
I love the sister character, Alice, who's like basically like her Joker, and she's actually her long lost sister who was like lost in a tragic accident and, you know, grew up going insane and blah, blah, blah. She had a bad life. So now she comes back as the big bad villain or whatever. And now she's kind of like a anti-hero, kind of like she's like a Loki, basically. She's always like kind of backstabbing them, but also helping them, whatever, like the Bat team or whatever. Anyway, pandemic, season 1 hits, then the pandemic happened and season 2 is delayed. And then in the midst of the break for the pandemic, it was announced that Ruby Rose was leaving the show. I'm like, what? Oh my God. Like, she's the face of the show. How do they, you know, what are they going to do here? And then season 2 hits. She's replaced by Jasivia Leslie, and, you know, helps them push the story into kind of cool new territory because she's a Black woman. They get to tell more stories from that perspective. She's taking on the mantle of Batwoman in place of Ruby Rose's Kate Kane. So I thought like the show was going to be dead like after this, but it actually took off, and it's better, a little bit better than fine now.
It's just garbage. It's not fucking garbage.
It's popcorny fun now. Before I was like really gritting my teeth through it. Now it's popcorny fun. So yeah. So it was kind of weird the way Ruby Rose left, you know, a year and a half ago or whatever. It was like they just kind of said, oh, they came to a mutual agreement, you know, her and the producers of the show. Like, it just didn't feel like a right fit. It was, the schedule was a lot more grueling than she expected, and on and on. She also had a back surgery. I guess she hurt herself early on during the show, I think it might have been filming the pilot, doing stunts and stuff, and she had to have a back surgery. And when she came back, apparently she came back too soon. And I remembered her talking about this in previous like press interviews and stuff, and kind of like in a jokey way, like, yeah, it was my hubris. Like it was, you know, I came back thinking I could tough it out, and then she had to sit out and have a stunt double for a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, no, you don't fuck with back injuries.
Yeah. So anyway, it seemed like long story short, they kind of parted amicably. Like, it was kind of sad, but then they agreed, like, oh, the show can carry on in this cool new way without me, and, you know, go our separate ways amicably. Well, like 2 days ago,
not so much with the amicable now.
So Ruby Rose gets online, and basically it seems like she was making this her Me Too moment. She basically said she needed to speak her truth about what really went on behind the scenes, the horrible experience she had on the show, that she was treated terribly by the producers, that she was threatened, you know, her job was threatened, and she was forced to come back before she was properly healed from that surgery. And on and on and on and on. And oh yeah, this Doug Ray Scott, who played her father on the show, Jacob Kane, oh yeah, he's a tyrant and an abuser of women, and blah blah blah, on and on and on, like just spilling all this tea,
all in in a fucking illegible font too. Why'd you choose that fucking font to release your damn manifesto?
Yeah, and just saying like how, yeah, just very like, I was victimized, and I, you know, now if you'll see now as I'm, you know, continuing my career and having other movies and projects lined up, I'm only working with, you know, people I trust, and on and on and on. It was like, it seemed like a heartfelt, like, oh shit, man, like I had no idea, this sucks. And within hours, of course, you expect the studio response. Naturally, they're saying, no, this is all lies, on and on, you know, this is completely false, et cetera, et cetera. However, they went further than that and said, no, she was actually the center of multiple allegations of bad behavior and unprofessionalism on the set, and which is why they let her go. And you expect the studio to have their own side of the story, but it seemed a bit much like, wow, they went even that far. It's like, no, you're the asshole. Doug Ray Scott, of course, defended himself like these are absolute lies, on and on and on, et cetera, et cetera. And he backed what the studio was saying about her. Then one of the PAs, one of the production assistants, who has now moved on away from the show, and I was telling Meg, this was one of the voices that I would kind of trust the most, because this guy was I apologize, I'll have to look up the name again, but he was a lowly production assistant on the crew. It was his first job in Hollywood. He released this long statement to comic book cbr.com, comicbookresources.com, a rebuttal essentially. Alex Baxter, who worked on the first season of the show. And he's gone on to create his own film company and production company. And so he has no ties to the show anymore, or the producers. He has no reason to cover, the show or anything like that, or the actors or whatever. And he wrote a scathing rebuttal to Ruby Rose's allegations, and backed the studio and said she was a monster on the show. Effectively, she was a tyrant. She was horribly unprofessional. She never showed up on time. She never knew her lines. She, forcing the crew, who was already working their ass off on these crazy long days, forced them even to longer hours to make up for her, losing time, production time. She was terrible to the entire crew. Unless you were a lead actor or the director, basically you were garbage under her boot. It just went on and on and on.
And not only that, but it also tracks with rumors that had come out from the John Wick 2 production as well. So
that she was that way on the set.
She was that way on the set.
Wow.
That's why her character doesn't talk that much, because they cut a lot of her lines.
Wow.
So overall, she's just kind of a cunt, and all of these people are backing up that theory.
Yeah. And then one of the leads, another lead actors, Camus Johnson, who plays Lucius Fox's son, who's now he's in charge of all the gadgets for Batwoman and everything. He also went out on Twitter and said, hey, to all his fans, hey, Bat fam, I couldn't stay silent about this, and but yeah, he didn't really dig into her, but he basically said yeah, everything that everybody's saying is true. And he basically put it in the words of she was the lead of the show, and when you're a lead, you are the face of the show, it takes a lot for you to get fired. And trust me, guys, she got fired. She did not walk away. So just think about everything you would have to do to get fired from your show. So yeah. And again, keeping a level head when we see all these damning, headlines and back and forth, blah, blah, blah. The internet trains us to be very black and white about these things.
There's definitely going to be truth to some of the things that she said.
Yeah, but... I mean, maybe even she, was pressured by the studio, by the production to get back to set as quick as she could. Maybe too early for her comfort, to avoid production delays and costs or whatever. But even if you're having a bad experience with execs or something, you don't take that out on the crew. That there seems to be enough damning stories from everybody else in the room that it's, regardless if you had some issues and we're having not a great time, it's still not a good look. So yeah, this is Getting Off Topic podcast, Ruby Rose's Crash.
Heard it here first, folks.
You heard it here first. Yeah. Anyway,
somebody somewhere's got a Google alert, and we're gonna finally come up on somebody's radar.
Hey, I'm not afraid of her. She's what, Danny DeVito sized. Came back full circle.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Anything else we got?
Nope.
That's all I got.
Nope, nothing for me.
All right, and I am done with my sarsaparilla here. So time to get going. Thank you for joining, guys. This is Tony.
This is Todd.
This is Andrew.
And Meg.
Yay. Play all the video games.
Yes.
And send me your Switch friend codes so we can.
Hey, I already added Andrew, so I'm still waiting for him to accept my friend invite.
When I get around to it, okay? Hold your horses.
TikTok.
You're like, I have to wait so many hours as to not seem desperate.
Exactly. It's the 3-day rule. You know that, right? Come on.
No, she can see you. You kept her on read. She can see that you see her. All right. Later, guys.
Night.